My grandfather was a special man. As long as I knew him, he was hardworking, loving, and put his family above everything. He was one of the first few Mexican farmers to own land in the state of Texas, and he was dang sure proud of that. I loved working on his farm with him as much as I loved being with him. My grandfather taught me everything I knew, from driving a tractor, driving a truck, having my first love, and loving my family. He taught me all things about religion. My grandfather was a very religious man. My grandfather, in fact, had read the Bible 3 times by the time I was 8. He loved God, and he was not afraid to tell people about it. He would shut people up if they were talking bad about him, and we were never allowed to say, "Oh my God." We would get whippings for that. In 2007, my grandfather was diagnosed with colon cancer. I didn't know how to adjust with this, to cope with this, because my grandfather, as long as I knew him, was untouchable. And I didn't understand why God would do this to him. But through all the treatments and everything that went on, my grandfather never missed church. He would get out of the hospital every Sunday and he would go to Mass. And then he would call us to make sure we went to Mass too and prayed for him. Through the chemo treatments, it got bad, and then it got better, and they determined that we had to remove his colon, part of his colon. We removed part of his colon, and it seemed things were getting better. The doctor said he no longer needed chemo, and we cheered. Things went back to being normal. We were able to enjoy going back to the farm. He was back at work, working his 12-hour-long days. We thought we had been made it clear. In 2011, my grandfather was airlifted to the hospital, and they determined that he had liver cancer of the colon. The colon cancer had spread into his liver, and it was not looking good. I was in 8th grade, playing sports, having fun, and I was about to lose my grandfather. I couldn't wait to be in high school so that he could watch me play football, watch me tackle people, show stuff that I was hardworking and what I could do. Through this entire time, my grandfather still went to church, even after finding out he had liver cancer. The next time I saw my grandfather, he was on hospice and could no longer get up from his own bed. It was rough watching him not be able to care for himself, because once again, I saw him as an invincible man, the man I wanted to be. I had to watch my mom take care of her own dad, clean him up. But no matter what, whoever he was with, he made them sit down and pray with him after every time they saw him. At this point in my life, I was hating God. I hated that he was doing this to my grandfather. I hated that he was having to go through this. I hated that my grandfather had worshiped God to the most, and that he had wanted him. He followed God no matter what. He was faithful, never wavered through family issues, through anything. He put God first. And now this was happening. My grandfather, being the special man he was, he knew exactly how I was feeling. He called me to his bed one night, and he explained it all. He said, "When I was born, my family had nothing. All we had was God. And then I came across land, and God was there. I started a family. God was there. We had no money, but God was still there, and he took care of us. I started a farm. We started raising children. God was there. And he told me, you see, through thick and thin, God was there and he took care of us. When we didn't have money, he gave us love and told me it was going to be okay until I was able to feed my own family. I didn't know what to say because at that moment I was really mad and didn't want anything to do with Christ or God. Didn't want to think about that. That night, my grandfather passed away. It was like all life had stopped. He was everything to me. I always looked up to him. I always wanted to be the best that I could for him. And I never wanted to give him any other thoughts. And I'm not going to lie. When he passed away, I distanced from God. I quit going to church for a while. But then I realized this is not what he would want. He would want me to be faithful to God and always follow him. So I started going back to church, and I realized if I wanted to see my grandfather again, I would go to church, I would worship God, and I would make him proud. After beginning of freshman year, after our first football game, I went and hugged my grandmother. And I told her I loved her so much and that I missed him. And we sat there and had our little tearful moment. But I really did. Because he was no longer there to see me play. And she kindly reminded me that him and God were both sitting on the couch and yelling for me like I was a cowboy. Then this song came on when I was on my way home. And I put it on repeat for about 2 hours. And I cried. And I realized that if I wanted to be anybody like my grandfather, I would have to go to church. Since then, I haven't been as good. I rarely miss church. I'm always there Sunday, first one there, front pew. I read a chapter out of the Bible most nights. I pray to him most of the time. If I need help, I know where I can go. It was a tough time without him, but I found my way. To my first girlfriend, to my first heartbreak, I knew he was there behind me, and so was God. And even though he is not here today, I would like to thank him for making me the man that I am today. The man that he was proud of. The man that I am proud to be. The man that my grandmother is proud of. Somebody who can be looked up to. Hardworking. Loyal. And above all, loving to my family, to God, and my friends.